I was real worried about the warrior there for a minute. With the whole mentor element to her character, you can't really blame me for being concerned. But if they got sucked into that laser too, then she's gonna be fine. But that begs the question of what the hell this is. Oh.
Yes. When you wake up, you'll be exactly as you left yourself.
Huh.
And why not?
You're shady.
He's literally the inverse of shady. He is zero shading.
Stranded in a dangerous land.
I'm reminded of the spot.
When you wake up, there will be a man nearby. Rely on that man, okay?
Huh. Is that just a god who wants to have some fun? I believe that as much as any explanation. Oh.
Is that you?
Okay. He hasn't killed them yet, so obviously not all bad. It's generally how it works if you immediately say someone is evil at the start of a show.
There wasn't, anyone else nearby, was there?
I
She got
only
caught.
found the two of you.
Yeah, she got
My
caught a lot
apologies.
earlier, so probably sent somewhere else, but
Does the sight of me not frighten you, boy?
It would be rude
Can
to be
you not
afraid
tell?
of you after you rescued us.
can you not tell he was terrified of you?
Interesting. You are a very strange child.
Yeah, how many times has he heard that? Maybe you should tie down Eris before she gets up. She's gonna attack on sight.
We're a long way from home.
Not in Kansas anymore.
Getting back to the central continent won't exactly be a walk in the park.
I kind of want to see the full map so I know exactly
I
how
think
far
we
he
got caught
is.
up in some kind of giant mana disaster.
Meaning what, though?
It will be my pleasure to protect you from harm.
Is he an outlier, though, or is the entire race like this?
I swear on the honor of the Superb, you will see your homeland again. For whatever that's worth. I'm sure you know our reputation.
I was gonna say, the honor of the Superb doesn't sound that promising.
Eris, Superb, somebody help me! No! I don't want to die!
At least she's not attacking him. That's honestly, I would say that reaction is probably the best one she could have had, given everything.
Eris Boboboreas Grey Rat?
No! It's Ori, yes! I just stuttered a little.
Insult her pride.
Forgive me.
That's the way to make her comfortable.
I'm Ruijerd.
Ruijerd's kind of a loner, so I bet he'd be your friend if you asked.
He's not denying the claims about the Superds.
I have to get her home if it's the last thing I do.
I'm curious why he thinks that, though. There are a few reasons why he could think that. And I feel like which one of those reasons it is extremely important to his character development. Because, let's face it, there's a decent chance that one of the reasons he wants to get her back is because he wants to marry and fuck her. Even if that were to only be part of the reason he wants to bring her back, I don't think it would be none of the reason he wants to bring her back. I really want to know why he's so determined to bring her back. I also want to see a map of the setting at some point so I know exactly how far they are.
Fa!
Rowing. Senna. He'll fetch an authority.
Been a while, so memory's a little fuzzy on the details of the Superb. As I said, they dropped way too much information way too early on. From what I remember, in whatever war was happening, they were a force that would turn against their own allies after defeating the enemy. And because of that, once the war ended, they were all exiled or something of the like. And I'm pretty sure the gods said that this was the demon land, or an area of it. And I'm pretty sure, terrible with the names in the show, the Superb here seconded that sentiment. But that's clearly not a Superb, and looks more like Roxy. This feels like maybe an overly sudden shift. I'm curious where they're going with it, but I'm a little concerned that things moved too fast to get to this point, and now we're going to be disoriented for a while. I would rather not have that kind of scenario. And while his body was his original form, it amounted to very little. His self-consciousness, hard to make any real storyline out of that when the amount of times that his real body will appear is likely to be very small. So, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that it's an isekai still barely matters. Let's see if we can get any answers within the next few episodes.
Roxy.
Your wife?
Kuroxy Indo Taksagi Lehi.
Oh!
Eh.
Huh. I figured there would probably be some kind of connection given it's the first people we've seen with that same hair color, but...
Rudius! Come look at the weird thing guarding the fields! That's so cool! Their houses are giant tortoise shells!
Kusakun Zeguzo Nortosa.
Huh.
Ozari wa Ibaizota. Lindaksa Enzaya. Ayakuwu.
Okay.
Ayakiwe iwa Sekuo Noxo. Lui Aya Nenane.
Alright.
Kurak.
She is the only character I am fine with Rudius getting with. Because that is a very similar amount of life spent between the two of them. And she is likely still younger than him. But around that age, that matters less and less. So, I'm sure she will be the only one he does anything romantic or sexual with over the course of this entire show. And I will never get infuriated at the level of pedophilia that is present within the story. Also, am I the only one who feels that Eris's obsession with all the stuff around the village feels somewhat autistic? It's fairly common for autistic people to have fixations on certain types of things and not focus on any of the other details around them when something related to that fixation is relevant. So, I don't know. Some of her behaviors there just reminded me of both myself and other people who I've met that are autistic. I'm probably reading way too much into it. Japan's, or at the very least, anime isn't exactly very known for addressing mental health disorders. So,
Shunma wo. Urachi wa Ariko. Inksinza.
That's a good dad.
I mean, your
I
standards
wonder if Paul and
wouldn't
the
be that
others
high.
are that worried about us.
To restore his tribe's honor. He wants to convince everyone that the Superd aren't the iniquitous monsters they're made out to be.
Well, good luck. If Roxy
Yeah.
and Eris are any indication, fear of the Superd is deeply ingrained in this world's culture.
It's interesting that they only describe the Superd as a tribe and nothing more. I was under the impression they were an entire race. Ready for another ReZero comparison? The Witch of Envy as a concept is introduced before she's explained in ReZero. It takes until he's in the mansion for him to learn about Satella and everything that is surrounding her and people who look like her. Prior to that, he doesn't know and we don't know, but we're given hints about it despite that. I would have much preferred the Superd to be handled that way. Have Roxy and Sylphie be self-conscious about their hair, but have them never explicitly address or explain why, or Roxy self-conscious and Sylphie getting bullied for it. But then once he goes to the Boreas family's house, during all the reading he does in those 2 plus years, I think it's been at least 2 years. In that time, then he can read about them and learn about it from that. That would make it much more easy to stick in your head when this is happening, because the details are really fuzzy for me, and I watched this shit yesterday, and I don't know if they're supposed to be as the thing. Like, in ReZero, you get the information pretty much as Subaru is getting it. Sure, you can piece things together before he does, but other than that, the actual explicitly given information is only given when he gets it, pretty much every time. So, generally speaking, you know when you're missing something because he'll be missing something. Here, I don't know how much I'm supposed to be following the Superd story. I don't know how developed they think it is yet. I don't have a clear picture of this, because Rudius hides things a lot better than Subaru does. If Subaru doesn't know what's going on, he'll look confused. If Rudius doesn't know what's going on, he'll hide it. They address it with the whole birthday thing. He does not wear his emotions on his sleeve very often. He might sweat a little, but that could express literally any emotion in an anime. So maybe I should just keep watching. I wonder how many of you are yelling at me that they're about to explain everything and I just need to keep watching. It's your fault for watching a reaction.
Do you mind telling me more?
So he did. And the story he told revealed a hidden, tragic side of this world's history.
A new weapon?
Yes. Before invading the central continent, he presented us with new spears.
400 years ago, the hero Laplace fought to unify demonkind and win rights the humans had long denied them. The Superb were...
Why not just listen to his telling of the story? And better yet, why not show it? You can still have his narration over it, but getting a history lesson with this visual is not interesting, especially when you're talking about wars and battles.
The hero Laplace fought to unify demonkind and win rights the humans had long denied them. The Superb were some of his earliest supporters, so eventually, Ruijerd and his men accepted the spears they were awarded.
They were incredibly powerful.
So he used
Nearly
them.
invincible in battle.
He pulled the Lelouch or an Aaron.
They were corrupting us.
Yeah, he turned them into monsters so the rest of the demons would be
Before we knew
accepted. Okay, yeah, no. He said Roxy left 20 years ago, and I cannot remember a single fucking name from any of these shows. This guy saved a child from this village 10 years ago, so that was probably the first time they interacted with him, I'm going to bet. So, okay. Sorry. If you couldn't follow why that tangent happened, I was wondering why Roxy would talk about the Superb as like a race of villains when this guy was friends with her village. So that was just my train of thought.
This spear is all that's left of my son. He sacrificed himself to save me from that curse.
You're still using the spear, though.
Our infamy is our punishment.
Your master's mother? Inpane.
Shunawo, iyan dok sense cool akakui.
Okay. So they live to about 200. She's the equivalent to a 50-year-old. She looks very young. Granted, the rules of longevity in fiction are all over the place. In Fire Emblem, you got the Manakets who look, if we're being generous, like 13-year-olds when they're 1,000 years old, but then look about 25 to 30 by the time they're 3,000 years old. So that's relatively consistent, but it means that they would look very old for about, 3,000 years, if not more. But then you got stuff like Star Wars, where Yoda dies at about 960 or 980 or something, I think. And then Grogu is 50. If we assume the average lifespan for a Yoda is 1,000, then that would mean he is 1/20th of his life through. So if we generously estimate and said the average human lifespan is 100 years old, then he's about 5 in his years, yet he's arguably less functional than a toddler. But then we have stuff like this, where they're 102, but still look at most 30 when they only lived to 200. So they're halfway through their life, but still look like they're in their prime. But then you got stuff like the elves from Lord of the Rings, where it's like they age as a child pretty quickly and then stay as kind of this age for 10,000 years or whatever. Yeah, longevity is such a weird thing. There's zero consistency in it. And the more you think about it, the more frustrating and distracting it gets. So I'm going to stop thinking about it.
Ukwakwa sakso sokudorosa?
Fa.
UI
Abite.
Goodbye, and thank you for your kindness.
Curtsying without a
There we
skirt
go.
looks weird.
Just us and Ruijerd.
Ruijerd, I'm really glad to have you with us.
I think part of my problem with his name right now is I'm also catching up on Slime Isekai, which has Rigurd and Rieger, and one of those two was named after a guy who had the same name, so a little bit confusing already with that. And now you got this guy, so I don't know what his fucking name is. Kind of miss my hero. I know all the names so well in it that it's not a problem. Alright, well, my standards for this episode are higher than they reasonably should be, considering it's part of the title is The Value of a Life, and one of the best episodes in all of ReZero is called The Value of Life. So yeah, expectations are real high, and they're not going to be met. So, I'm already 27 seconds in, I'm pausing. So, Rieger? The Superb. His spear, he said it was his son's, and his son saved him somehow. I would assume that means his son took a blow from him and died. I also assume that would mean that his son did not take the spear that corrupted people. And that's why his spear is safe to use, because if it's still the spear that corrupts, is that not going to be a problem?
Ugh, I miss beef. What's a guy gotta do for a burger around here?
Just be Senku and reinvent technology. Watched Dr. Stone yesterday.
Beyond those cliffs is the city of Rikarasu.
Those are, how? You would call those cliffs? If you say so. I would call that a mountain pass, but...
What's Dead End? They all seem pretty scared of it.
That would be me.
Yeah, kind of
Say
figured.
But I guess they do think he's a mass murderer.
So what do we do now?
Technically he is, just
Go without me.
not by his own choice.
Leap over the cliffs and meet you inside.
Hang on.
You'll leap?
You can't just drop down on their heads like that.
I'm reminded of Made in Abyss with the aesthetics of this.
Okay.
Hopefully that's the only way it reminds me of that.
Don't fall behind, Ruijerd. This is where it gets serious.
I feel like you're pronouncing his name differently
Yes,
now.
right.
What are you two doing?
But if Dead End the party starts doing good deeds, that ought to help Dead End the Superb regain his honor.
In
But don't lose
significant
that
amounts of theory.
It was a gift from my master.
I'm really curious what the voice actors think of this show.
Seen anything like it?
Because some of these voice actors are decently prolific. I mean, Rieger, the Superb, and Eris are both voice actors in My Hero. Eris is Nejire and the Superb is Aizawa. So those are pretty substantial roles. And Eris's voice actors know a lot of other stuff as well. I couldn't name it off the top of my head, but she's got a very distinct sound. I think she's Nagisa from Assassination Classroom. But I'm very curious to know what they think of this show. Because a lot of anime have sexual content and harem tropes and that kind of thing. Some of them even have lolly fan service and stuff. Not a lot have groping underage girls, or masturbation, or loud sex, and all that kind of stuff, while also having lolly fan service. I think part of the reason why I'm curious is because with the Prisma Ilia series, I'm pretty sure not a single member of the cast of any other Fate series reprised their roles for that. They had to get an entirely new cast, which I imagine is because of the content of the show. There were some pretty huge names in the Fate dubs, and I don't think a single person didn't get recast for Prisma Ilia. Whether that's for budget reasons or because they just didn't want to be associated with such a show, I wouldn't know without talking to them. But I'm very curious. I'm pretty sure young Rudy is voiced by a woman, since that's usually how anime does it, so I'd be very interested in knowing what she thinks of the show. Because it's a lot of sexualization of children.
Touch me! You'll pay for that!
The fact that she got that mad over something Rudius bought for her is part of the problem with this show. All three of the main girls so far are actually into him. That's part of the problem. It makes them come across as just waifu characters with nothing to them. They feel less like people and more like sex objects for him to develop himself off of. Have you noticed that this is a reason why ReZero works? Because Amelia gets mad at him for fucking up, and she doesn't love him immediately? Have you noticed the difference? I have a problem.
Something about this makes me feel itchy.
Have you watched Goblin Slayer before? Because that would explain.
Hey,
Soon enough, you'll find yourself with much less to worry about.
I am very reminded of the Spot by his mannerisms and look. Also, I'm pretty sure it's Brandon McInnes doing that voice, and he's killing it. He fits the visuals so well. Why would you get that close?
Doesn't want to make us angry.
you can't do that anymore, okay?
Why is she so unfazed by
If
it?
you walk around executing people, people won't care who you killed, just that you killed them.
That sounds foolish.
You can't prove that they were evil if you've killed them.
Eris and I don't want to be afraid of you either.
What happens if he or Eris punch each other? Then what does he do?
I told you. Villains.
Hey, cool your jets!
They're con artists. They don't deserve to fucking die for it.
I refuse to depend on lowlifes such as these.
Says the killer.
What's your problem?
I don't like villains.
Oh,
Even
boo-hoo,
Eris
quit
is saying
complaining.
that.
Who cares if you don't like it?
They also kicked a child.
So what? I kick people all the time.
Yeah.
Doers can't be trusted.
Yeah, well, you've done some pretty evil stuff too, haven't you?
Yep. Her aggressiveness is exactly what's needed here for the
Eris?
first time in her life.
That's enough, please.
It was exactly what was needed, though. This is the end of part 1. I'm curious. I imagine they ended on a cliffhanger if it's a part 1 of the season 1, right? Plus, I can't imagine anything gets resolved yet.